Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be diving into the world of the Enneagram Type 3, the Achiever.
Yes.
You've given us an essay here all about how Type 3s see the world.
Yes.
And some of the struggles that they have, particularly with identity.
Right.
So to kind of kick things off here,
Yeah.
you laid out a couple of different frameworks in this essay that I think are really fascinating. One is this idea of life as a competition.
Right.
And the other is life as a stage.
Yes.
So before we kind of get into the nitty-gritty, if I'm a Type 3,
Okay.
am I basically driven by success, image, accomplishment?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the stereotypical Type 3, right?
Right.
They're all about looking good,
Looking good.
being successful,
Well,
achieving things.
But you're saying there's more to it than that.
Yeah, the essay definitely suggests that there's a lot more going on beneath the surface.
Yeah.
It's not just about wanting success, it's about how they define themselves through those achievements. It's like their worth is tied to their wins.
Their worth is tied to their wins.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with this idea of life as a competition then.
Okay.
The essay says Type 3s measure themselves by what they achieve. What does that look like in the real world?
So think about someone like Rafael Nadal, the tennis star, right?
Okay.
He's incredibly driven to win,
He is.
always pushing himself to be the best.
Yeah.
That's kind of the epitome of that competitive mindset of the Type 3.
Okay.
But the essay also points out that it can have a downside.
Right, because I was just thinking, like, what happens when winning becomes everything?
Well, that's exactly what the essay suggests, is that they can lose sight of what truly matters to them.
Okay.
They get so focused on proving themselves
Right.
that it becomes this cycle of needing external validation.
Oh, so it's almost like they're running on a treadmill,
Yeah,
going fast, but not really getting anywhere.
that's a great analogy.
Okay, so that's the competitive side. Now, what about this life as a stage idea?
Yeah. So this is where the Type 3's adaptability comes in.
Okay.
They're kind of like chameleons. They're able to play different roles, put on the right face for any situation.
So they're basically actors in their own lives.
Exact. Think of actors like Tom Cruise, Marilyn Monroe, Will Smith.
Okay.
They all have this ability to kind of slip into different characters,
Right.
become whoever they need to be to succeed.
Okay, but is that always a positive thing?
That's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
The essay says that all this role-playing
Mm-hmm.
can create a distance from their true selves.
Okay.
It's like they're wearing a mask that they can never take off.
Yeah, that actually makes me think about the part of the essay that really grabbed my attention, which is this whole struggle with identity.
Right.
So if you strip away all the achievements,
Yeah.
the roles that they play, who is a Type 3, really?
That is the central question for the Type 3.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy one to answer.
Right.
The essay even uses the term alexithymia to describe the difficulty Type 3s can have identifying their emotions.
So they don't even know how they feel.
Well, it's not that they don't know how they feel. It's that they have a hard time identifying and processing those emotions.
Okay.
It's as if they're so used to focusing outward that they lose touch with their inner world.
So even though they seem so put together on the outside,
Right.
they might be struggling to even connect with how they feel on the inside.
Precisely. And that disconnect can be a real challenge for them.
Yeah. Okay, so this is starting to sound a little bit less glamorous than the typical image
Right.
of the high-achieving Type 3.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've kind of explored this competitive drive, the theatricality of the Type 3.
Yeah.
But the essay actually goes a little bit deeper than that, right?
It does.
It talks about this concept of a false image.
Right. And it brings in the work of Claudio Naranja,
Okay.
who's a pretty prominent figure in the Enneagram world. And Naranja describes the Type 3 fixation as deceit.
Deceit.
But he's not talking about like outright lying.
Oh, yeah.
It's more about a self-deception
Okay.
that is tied to this false image.
So they're not just putting on a show for other people.
Right.
They're actually fooling themselves, too.
In a way, yes.
Whoa.
Think of it like this. They become so good at wearing the mask that they start to believe it's their real face.
Wow, that's a powerful image.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what's hiding under that mask.
Exactly.
What's the real person like?
And that's the challenge for the Type 3,
Yeah.
figuring out who they are outside of their accomplishments and the roles they play.
Right.
And that's where the essay says they can find true authenticity and lasting fulfillment.
Okay, so this is all so fascinating.
Yeah.
It really makes you think about how we all define ourselves not just type 3s.
That's a great point. We all have our own ways of measuring success and presenting ourselves to the world. But I think the type 3 struggle really highlights the importance of being genuine.
Absolutely, no matter what.
Okay, so we've talked about the competitive drive, the theatrical nature,
Yeah.
the struggle with identity.
Right.
Is there anything else we should know about the type 3 mentality before we move on?
Yeah. Well, the essay also touches on their emotional neutrality
Okay.
and adaptability.
Okay.
Type 3s have this unique way of staying emotionally balanced.
Okay.
They're not overly optimistic.
Mm-hmm.
They're not prone to melancholy.
Right.
They kind of stay in this middle ground,
Okay.
which allows them to kind of adapt to any situation.
So are you saying they're like emotional chameleons too?
Exactly.
Okay.
They can mirror the emotional tone of their environment.
Wow.
Which can be a huge advantage in a lot of ways.
Right.
But it also ties back to that alexithymia we discussed,
Okay.
that difficulty with identifying and processing their own emotions.
So even though they seem so composed and in control, they might actually be struggling to connect with how they're truly feeling.
That's the paradox of the type 3.
Yeah.
They're often incredibly successful and charming, but deep down they can feel very disconnected from themselves.
This is all so insightful.
Yeah.
What stands out to you about the type 3 mentality?
For me, it's the tension between their outward success and their inner struggle.
Mm-hmm.
They often seem to have it all,
Yeah.
but they can be searching for something more.
Right. And it makes you wonder, can you ever truly be fulfilled?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're always chasing that external validation.
Right. And the essay suggests that true fulfillment for a type 3 comes from finding a sense of self that isn't tied to those achievements or roles.
That's a really profound thought.
Yeah.
It makes me think about how we all define success and happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Are we measuring ourselves against external standards?
Right.
Or are we looking inward for what truly matters?
It's a great question to ponder. And I think it's something that we can all benefit from reflecting on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a journey that requires a lot of honesty with themselves.
Right.
The essay actually says that it's crucial for type 3s
Okay.
to face their fear of failure head on.
Okay.
Because that fear is often what's fueling that relentless pursuit of success.
So it's almost like they're running away from something
Yeah.
rather than towards something.
Exactly.
Okay.
They might be running from the fear of being seen as inadequate or unworthy.
Right.
And that fear can be so strong that they never stop to ask themselves what they truly want.
Oh, so they're on that treadmill again.
Yeah.
Putting in all this effort,
Mm-hmm.
but not going in the direction they want to go.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
The essay says the first step off that treadmill
Okay.
is acknowledging those deeper fears.
Yeah.
Asking, what am I truly afraid of?
Right.
What happens if I don't achieve everything I set out to do?
That sounds terrifying.
It can be,
Yeah.
but it can also be incredibly liberating.
Yep.
Because once they start facing those fears,
Mm-hmm.
they can start defining success on their own terms.
So finding a sense of self-worth,
Right.
that's not based on what other people think.
Exactly. It's about shifting the focus from what they achieve to who they are as individuals.
Right.
And the essay really emphasizes that type 3s have so much to offer the world
Okay.
beyond just their accomplishments.
Okay.
They're often charismatic, driven, resourceful.
Right. It's like they need to find a way to channel all of that
Yeah.
energy and ambition, but in a way that's more true to themselves.
Exactly. Instead of chasing external validation,
Okay.
start looking inward for purpose and meaning.
Okay, so what does that look like practically?
Yeah.
How can a type 3 start to make that shift?
Well, the essay highlights a few key areas for growth.
Okay.
One is cultivating self-awareness.
Okay.
So paying attention to their thoughts, their feelings, their motivations. Right.
It's about becoming more aware of their inner world.
Yeah, and that makes sense because if they're so used to focusing on what's happening externally,
Right.
it probably takes effort to kind of turn that attention inward.
Absolutely. And it's not always easy.
Right.
The essay acknowledges that type 3s might resist this introspection at first.
Okay.
It can be uncomfortable
Yeah.
to slow down and examine their feelings.
Okay, but it sounds like it's crucial.
It is.
Yeah.
The essay suggests that practices like meditation or journaling
Okay.
can be really helpful tools for cultivating that self-awareness.
So creating space for stillness and reflection,
Yeah.
which might feel totally foreign to a type 3 who's always on the go.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then the other important important area for growth
Okay.
is developing authentic connections with
Mhm.
people.
Okay.
So building relationships
Mm-hmm.
that are based on genuine intimacy and vulnerability,
Right.
not just shared success
Yeah.
or social status, but so it's about letting people see the real them,
Yes.
not just the polished version
Mm-hmm.
that they present to the world.
And that takes risk.
Yeah.
Being willing to show their imperfections
Right.
and vulnerabilities.
Because they're afraid of being judged.
The essay suggests that type 3s often struggle with this
Okay.
because they are afraid of being judged
Well,
or rejected.
Okay, so it goes back to that fear of not being good enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the essay emphasizes that true connection and belonging
Mm-hmm.
can only come from authentic self-expression, from
Got it.
letting people see who they really are,
Okay.
flaws and all.
So it's about finding people who will accept and love them
Yes.
for who they are,
Mm-hmm.
not for what they've accomplished.
Precisely.
Okay.
And those kinds of relationships can be incredibly healing
Yeah.
and transformative for type 3s. They can provide that sense of safety and belonging that they might have been seeking through external validation.
Wow, this is all painting such a vivid picture of the inner world
Yeah.
of the type 3
It is.
with all its complexities and contradictions.
It is complex.
Yeah.
While we're focusing on the challenges here,
Mm-hmm.
it's important to remember that type 3s also have incredible strengths.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, they're driven, they're ambitious, they're capable, they get things done.
They do.
And when they can harness all those strengths in a way that's aligned with their true selves,
Right.
they can really make a difference in the world.
I agree. And the essay ultimately offers a message of hope for type 3s.
Okay.
It suggests that by embracing their vulnerability,
Mm-hmm.
cultivating self-awareness,
Right.
and building authentic connections,
Okay.
they can find true fulfillment
Yeah.
and make a meaningful contribution to the world.
That's a beautiful message.
Yeah.
It makes me think about the importance of compassion in all of this.
Yeah.
Compassion for ourselves and compassion for other people
Mm-hmm.
who are struggling with similar challenges.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Remembering that everyone is on their own journey
Uh-huh.
and we all have our own strengths and weaknesses.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And it's in those moments of vulnerability and authenticity
Mm-hmm.
that we really connect with each other as human beings.
That's where the real magic happens.
This has been so insightful.
Yeah.
I think this deep dive into the Enneagram Type 3
Mm-hmm.
offers valuable lessons for all of us,
I agree.
regardless of our Enneagram type.
Yeah, it reminds us that true success isn't about external validation
Right.
or achievements.
Mm-hmm.
It's about living a life that's aligned with our values,
Uh-huh.
our purpose,
Yeah.
and our authentic selves.
And that's a journey worth taking.
It is a journey of self-discovery.
Mm-hmm.
It can be tough,
Yeah.
but also incredibly rewarding.
Yeah. And you know what? It's a journey we can all learn from,
I think so, too.
even if we're not Type 3s.
Yeah, we all have parts of ourselves that we might be hiding or afraid to show the world.
Right.
So this conversation is a good reminder
Yeah.
of how important authenticity and self-acceptance really are.
Absolutely. It's like a reminder that true success
Mm-hmm.
isn't about trying to be what other people want us to be.
Right.
It's about being true to ourselves.
Well said.
I think that's a perfect note to end on.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Enneagram Type 3.
It's been my pleasure.
And for everyone listening, we encourage you to keep exploring the Enneagram.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a fascinating tool for self-discovery
Yeah,
and understanding the people around you.
absolutely.
And remember,
Mm-hmm.
the journey to authenticity is ongoing.
It is.
It's about accepting our imperfections,
Mm-hmm.
celebrating our strengths,
Yeah.
and trying to live a life
Mm-hmm.
that's true to who we are.
Absolutely.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.